Okay, so today I'm going to share with you 5 essential tips to make your shoots with models run as smoothly as possible. Now, I'm probably not the most experienced person in shooting with models. I was never really massively into portrait photography or portrait videography, but recently with my work, I've been doing a bit more shoots towards the fashion industry, and this has meant I'm working with a lot more models. Now, I think the difference between models and talent would be talent is someone who is kind of showcasing what you're trying to shoot. So let's say you're shooting a product or a car commercial or something like that. You can, basically get them to do their normal everyday thing. Whereas shooting with a model, you're kind of just shooting them. You may have a concept in mind, but ultimately the video or photos are mainly based on them, which is a little bit more scary because you sometimes don't really know exactly what to shoot. You don't know what movements you want them to do, and sometimes it can be a little bit awkward. So I'm going to give you 5 tips on how to absolutely crush it next time you're with your model. These tips are going to go a long way in helping you get comfortable with your model and produce really, really good shots like this.
With a dollar and a dream, shaking hands with people only faking how they seem now.
So the first tip is to plan your shots and leave room for spontaneity. Now, planning your shots is such a good idea because that way on your shoot, you know exactly what sort of shots you need to tick off. So you kind of already have a plan in mind and you're going to be a bit more confident on the shoot. Whether that is, certain poses or directional movement, angles, focal lengths, whatever it is, planning your shots ahead of time for any shoot is super important, but especially a shoot with models. Now for me, I'll do a storyboard if the shoot has a bit more of a flow to it or a bit more of a story to it. Otherwise, I'll just map out some shot lists and key shots that I don't want to miss, and then kind of let everything else flow freely. Once you've kind of ticked off your main shots, you can let yourself be a bit more free and get those shots that kind of come to your mind on the shoot. But a really important thing is pre-production in this stage, getting a mood board together, getting video references, photo references, just making everything as visual as possible. I mean, that really helps for me. A lot of the times I'll write down my shots of what I want, but then I'll make sure every shot has a visual reference as well. This is not a plug for Frameset, but I'm gonna plug them anyways because they're really good. I just discovered them and they're incredible at having frames to take. They're really, really handy, and I actually used heaps of these when I just literally typed up model positions or whatever, and it gave me a whole bunch, gave me like 40,000 options, which really helped. And I added them to my Milanote board, which I was able to have on my phone and basically take that with me through the shoot. You can also send this to your model ahead of time as well, so they get an idea of the style that you want to do. They can have some poses in mind, because sometimes you're going to be working with a model that is really experienced, and sometimes you're going to be, especially if you're just starting out, you're probably going to be working with models who are also just starting out, which can be a little bit more scary. So pairing them as well so that you're prepared and they're prepared is super helpful. Tip number 2, so this is on the shoot. I like to actually meet my model beforehand. Maybe we find a spot like a local cafe, or even just meeting at the car and kind of walking to your spot. That's one of the best tips for me in terms of building rapport with your model before you actually do the shoot, because it can be pretty scary for yourself and for the model to kind of just jump straight into a shoot without knowing each other. You might have conversed over Instagram or something like that, but just going straight into a shoot can be really scary for both people. So being able to break those walls down, have a chit chat, talk about your day or hobbies, or how you guys connected, whatever it is, it gives you a good chance to go over the shoot as well for the day, just kind of really reinforcing your ideas and making sure that you're both on the same page. Tip number 3, scout the location before you go and make sure you know what time of day is best to shoot in. Now, when you're shooting with a model, I think that lighting and location is everything. I mean, shooting with a model is fantastic, and usually they'll draw a lot of attention from the audience to them, but it's also really good in having a location that kind of emphasizes the scene that you're trying to produce, and lighting is also super important. It's always good to have a few locations in mind on the shoot, and it's really good as well to make them close by, because you don't want to be taxiing or training anywhere across the city. You kind of want to keep the locations within walking distance from each other. That way you're maximizing your time shooting. And you can also kind of shoot along the way to the next location. Lighting can make or break your videos or photos, so shooting at the right time of day is super important. As I said, depending on your vibe. So if you're going for a really moody, kind of drastic looking feel to it, shooting during cloudy days or rain even is really great. Otherwise, I definitely recommend shooting a golden hour. Literally shooting a golden hour for anything is the best, and especially with models, having that light come across them, whether it's in their eyes or their face, it really amplifies the mood you're trying to set. Tip number 4, showing your mood board to the model on the shoot. Now, for me, this is really important. Every time that I'm trying to instruct the model to, do a certain movement or an action, I'll show the model a reference as well, because personally, I don't think I'm the best at explaining things. I can get my words tied up a lot. So I like to kind of just give a visual reference and just say, hey, this is the sort of vibe that I want you to do. And also, personally, I see photographers and videographers really directing their models a lot during the shoot. For me, I feel more confident, especially as a videographer, just kind of letting the model flow. And that can be scary, especially when you're working with the model for the first time. You're kind of silent for a few seconds and you're not really instructing them. They can also get a bit lost as well. So it is really important to make sure that they are on the same page as you, whether you show them a video reference of the sort of actions you want them to take. Now, tip number 5, giving your model positive feedback and showing them the shots. Giving positive reinforcement to anyone is super handy, especially when you are working with someone that is, it's their first time modeling. As I said, if you're watching this video, most likely you're probably just starting out shooting with models, so it's probably their first time as well. So giving them positive reinforcement, going, yep, that looks great, beautiful, amazing, really making sure that they know that they're doing a good job, because at the end of the day, they're the model. You've picked them, they already look good. So it's your job to make them look good as well. So, if something's not looking quite right, it's not their fault that something's not working. So you've got to kind of adjust that and make sure that you're always giving positive reinforcement. Another thing is a quick little tip, like a bit of a bonus tip, I guess, is I hear a lot of photographers and videographers saying, let's do that one more time. Now, I'm probably not the first person to say this, but it is definitely not one more time. There's always another time. Even if you get the perfect shot, you're still going to want to shoot it again, most likely. So it can be really annoying, which I've realized for talent or models, that when you're saying one more time, okay, one more time, it can get really annoying for them. So it's really important to say again. I know it can be a little bit harsh and a little bit more less friendly by going, all right, let's do that again. But it means that they're not mentally preparing themselves to do that one more time. So when you ask them again, they're not going to be annoyed. So if you just say, okay, that's great, let's do that again, or can we do that one again, whatever the way you put it, just making sure you're not saying one more time, because it can be really frustrating if you're the talent and you're getting repeatedly told it's one more time and it's not. And then showing your model what you're taking. So if you've taken a really nice shot that you like, make sure you show them. They're obviously gonna know what's best for themselves as well. They might say, I don't like this side of me, or whatever it is, but most of the time they'll love what you're producing. So it's really, really good to show the model what you're shooting. Couple other bonus tips I like. I think bringing music along to a shoot is really good, especially when you are a little bit more introverted and quiet. You'd be surprised. I'm actually a bit of an introvert myself. So when I'm shooting, I kind of like to let the model just flow and do her own thing. So having music in the background is really great for me. It kind of just reduces that awkwardness. And lastly, always be respectful to your model. Models and talents are just as much as part of the shoot as you are. So make sure that when you're on a shoot with a client, that they're respected, then make sure that they're eating, and if it's a long shoot, they're going to be tired as well. Just because they're not behind the camera doesn't mean they don't get tired either. So just really make sure you're being respectful and you're making sure that they're getting paid well as well if you're using them for a client shoot. But overall, just have fun. And yeah, there you have it. There's my tips on working with a model for the first time. Anyways, like, share, subscribe, comment down below if you learned anything. Comment down below if you want to see more types of these tutorial and tip videos. I've got a few more cinematic cuts coming out as well, so I look forward to putting those out. But thank you all for watching and have a good one.